The essential understanding for this lesson is, you can divide a whole into equal shares in different ways. Equal shares of the same whole do not have to have the same shape. Previously, students partitioned shapes into equal shares and described the shares as halves, thirds, or fourths. In this lesson, students continue to partition shapes into equal shares in more than one way, with a focus on the idea that the equal shares can be different shapes. For this problem, students are asked to show two different ways to divide the same rectangle into 4 equal shares. The problem is key because students must divide the same whole into equal shares in different ways, including a way that shows that equal shares do not have to have the same shape. Listen and look for students who make equal shares that are the same shape, but are unable to make equal shares that are different shapes. Encourage these students to use the small squares in each model to help. First, have them count the number of small squares in each equal share they made in the first rectangle. There are 3 small squares. So, to divide the second rectangle into equal shares that are different shapes, each share should have 3 small squares too. Then have these students draw various ways that 3 small squares could be arranged so that one side of a square touches at least one side of another square. Possibilities include a row of squares, one square above the other 2 squares, or one square below the other 2 squares. Finally, ask these students to use 2 or more of their arrangements to show equal shares in the second rectangle. Listen and look for other students who show how to divide the rectangle into equal shares that are the same shape and into equal shares that are different shapes. Even though these shares are different shapes, they are equal shares because each is 3 squares. These students demonstrate an understanding that a whole can be divided into equal shares in different ways, and that the equal shares do not have to have the same shape. Students will use this understanding to solve real-world problems involving equal shares.
How can this square be divided into 3 equal shares?
You can use smaller squares to help.
You can draw lines to make 3 columns or 3 rows. These show equal shares that are all the same shape. How are these 2 blue squares alike? They are identical in size. Each blue square is divided into 3 equal shares that are all the same shape. Each share is made up of 3 small squares. How are the blue squares different? One blue square is divided into columns, and the other blue square is divided into rows. Here, each share is 3 squares. The shares are equal. Is each share the same shape? These show equal shares that are not all the same shape. Each way shows 3 equal shares. Equal shares can be different shapes. Are there other ways to make 3 equal shares with this blue square? Yes. One other way is to divide the square into one row of 3 small squares on the top and 2 L shapes of 3 small squares on the bottom. Now you know how you can make equal shares that do not have the same shape.
I have a nice big square here. How can I divide it up into 4 equal shares? I'll use smaller squares to help me. Here's one way. All the shares are equal. How many small squares are there in each share? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 equal-sized small squares in each share. Here's a different way. Are all the shares equal? Yes, there are 4 equal-sized small squares in each share. Look at this. Does this show another way? That's correct. This shows a different way to show 4 equal shares. Let's see if we can find one more way to show 4 equal shares. How about this? Yes, this shows 4 equal shares. Even though the shares are a different shape, each share has 4 equal-sized squares. It's fun to find equal shares. Sometimes the equal shares will all be the same shape, and sometimes they won't. It all depends on how creative you want to be.